All right, let's dive into something I think we've all felt at some point. That strange, uncanny feeling of phone telepathy. You know the drill, right? You're just living your life, maybe making coffee, and suddenly a specific person just pops into your head. And then, buzz. You look down at your phone, and it's them. We usually just laugh it off. We call it a weird coincidence, a funny little glitch in the matrix. But what if it's actually something more? And that's really the heart of the question we're looking at today. Is this just our brains playing tricks on us, seeing patterns in random chaos? Or could it be a flicker of a real, genuine connection that we just don't understand yet? Now, you might think this is just a topic for late-night conversations, but you'd be wrong. Scientists have actually been trying to pin this down for years. Yeah, they've taken this very personal, anecdotal feeling and brought it into the lab. And let me tell you, the story the data tells is, well, it's pretty fascinating and definitely not what you might expect. Okay, so first things first. Just how common is this, really? Is it some rare little quirk or is it a widespread thing? Well, the number is kind of wild. It's not rare at all. Surveys across Europe and the Americas show that a whopping 85% of people say they've had this happen to them. Think about that for a second. That's not a fringe belief. It's a nearly universal part of being human in the digital age. So if pretty much everyone feels it, the next big hurdle for science is, how in the world do you test for it? How do you separate a real connection from just, lucky guessing? Well, the basic experimental design is actually pretty clever. You get a receiver, and let's say two of their friends who could be the callers. For every round, a random generator, basically a digital coin flip, picks which friend is going to make the call. The receiver knows it could be one of the two, but not who was chosen. Before they pick up, they have to guess. With two callers, pure chance is 50-50. If you do this over and over and someone is consistently scoring way above 50%, well, that's when it gets interesting. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. It turns out that the way you set up the test is everything. A 2024 study by researcher Rupert Sheldrake showed that one tiny change in the design can make the entire effect vanish. For instance, in one setup, they kept everyone on a constant conference call. Even the friend who wasn't chosen to call was still on the line, muted but totally focused on the experiment. The result? A total wash. The guesses were right at 50%, pure random chance. Nothing to see here. So that got the researchers thinking, what if all that intense focus from everyone was just creating a ton of mental static, like trying to hear a whisper at a rock concert? So they changed things up completely. And boom, the results were like night and day. In this new design, the tests were spread out, people were just going about their normal day, and, this is the key, the person who wasn't calling had no idea a test was even happening. By getting rid of that background noise, the hit rate jumped to 57%. Now, that's a statistically significant leap above chance. It really suggests that to get a clear signal, you need a quiet line. Okay, so one well-designed study can find something. That's cool. But is it just a fluke? To find out, scientists do something called a meta-analysis, where you basically combine the results of dozens of studies to see if a real consistent pattern emerges from all the noise. And this one was a biggie. It pulled together the data from 26 different experiments done over 2 decades. This is the 30,000-foot view of all the research. So what did it find? Across all of those studies, the success rate was, on average, 8.6 percentage points higher than what you'd get by just guessing. Now, I know, 8.6% might not sound like a huge number, but in this field, finding any consistent positive signal across so many different labs and so many years, that's a really big deal. It suggests there's a real effect here. So, just how sure are we that this isn't all just one giant statistical fluke? Well, the odds are pretty staggering. The probability of getting this result by pure chance is just 1 in 10 million. Let that sink in. Statistically speaking, something real appears to be going on. Okay, so we've established there's a signal, however faint. The next logical question is, what turns up the volume? Are some people or some situations just better at tuning in? Well, the data on this is incredibly clear. If you just grab random volunteers, their hit rate is about 6% above chance. But if you pre-select people who already claim to have these experiences a lot, their score is more than double, jumping to 13% above chance. It seems some people might just be naturally more tuned in. And it gets even more specific. there seems to be a sort of recipe for success. Close emotional bonds are a huge factor. The stronger the bond, the stronger the signal. And here's the part that I find fascinating. How you guess is critical. If people just went with their gut feeling, they scored above chance. But the people who tried to logically reason it out, well, Jen called yesterday, so it's probably Mark, they actually scored below chance. Overthinking it literally jams the signal. And finally, it's not about predicting the future. Asking people to guess who will call in a minute just drops the results right back to random chance. This is a here and now phenomenon. So, all of this brings us squarely into our modern world of constant notifications and digital connections. How is all this technology changing the game? And there's this really interesting idea from researcher Yu Kwang Ao Young, who suggests that our phones might be doing more than just distracting us. They might actually be creating brand new ways for us to notice, document, and even validate these experiences. I mean, just think about it. Before smartphones, this weird feeling was just a story. You had no proof. But now, you have a digital breadcrumb trail. You have timestamps. You can literally pull up your phone and say, look, I sent this text thinking about you at 2:15, and you called me out of the blue at 2:16. What used to be just an anecdote is now becoming a verifiable data point. So where does this all lead? If there really is a small but detectable signal, and if our technology can now track it, what comes next? This is the idea that's starting to bubble up in the research papers. What if you had an app that could prompt you to guess who's about to message you, and then keep a running tally of your hits and misses? Could you actually, with practice and feedback, get better at recognizing that quiet, intuitive signal? And that's really the thought I want to leave you with. For centuries, these kinds of experiences have been mysterious, fleeting, and impossible to prove. It's kind of ironic, isn't it? The very same technology that floods our lives with so much noise might also be giving us the tools to finally start hearing the quiet, hidden signals that connect us all.